working? Is it working? Which is correct, this one or that one? Good morning. It is 8:30. We'll start the commission meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Item number 3 is an invitation for a citizen to schedule time on the commission agenda for an item not listed. Is there anybody? Hearing none, move on to item number 4, approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Additions, corrections, anything? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item number 5, consent agenda items. Approval of minutes, approval of travel requests, approval of personnel action notices, approval of cellular authorizations, approval of human services report. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Second.
Any additions, corrections here? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Pierce.
Aye.
Bartley.
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Boersma. Aye. Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Routine business, approval of the claims. Have a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Bartley.
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Boersma. Aye. Pierce.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number B, department head reports. Brian, would you like to start?
Knows construction's getting well on the way here. 4/7, we had a pre-con meeting in the city of Elkton, and they had asked if they could mill up the stretch that they're going to be working on between 1st and 3rd Street on Brookings County 33 or Cornell Avenue, and I allowed them to do that, and they're going to be looking at starting their water and sewer project next week, so that closure will take place then, and that estimated time of closure is roughly about 3 months. And I provided you guys with the detour information last time and asked them to put some additional signing up to make sure that they don't have any traffic congestion issues there. 4/14, I met down on the bridges south of town, and after reviewing what work was done last year and looking at the condition of the pavement at the intersection, we determined that we weren't going to go and excavate that out to redo what is already in fairly good condition. So that netted a change order decrease of $62,324, and we'll be looking at that later here in the meeting. So there won't be any closure on that those bridges south of town. There's some additional work that the county has left to do. We're taking care of the fencing today, and then the contractor's got to come back in and readdress some of the erosion control issues, and then it calls for spraying asphalt oil around the guardrail. So that'll be the only work that'll take place down there, and then those will be completed. And I know, Ryan, you had addressed the concern with the guardrail. So I discussed that with Mr. Ritterhouse, and according to him, the guardrails installed per federal highway standards, and we can't adjust that because it's set in there for crash rating. So I also asked about possibly widening that intersection to the south, and he says since it wasn't part of the original scope of work, that it couldn't be included in this project. It'd be something that we'd have to take care of on our own. So if that's something that we want to look at, we can look into that farther, and I can get some costs. But when we're working down there, I did pay close attention to the trucks, and I've got several guys that have been taking the CDL test lately, and it does state that you swing out into the oncoming traffic at an intersection into their lanes. I mean, the trucks are traversing the intersection, and it doesn't seem like there is any closeness other than the guardrail, you know, being a little closer. And I know that's probably what makes the trucks feel uncomfortable, is that guardrail's in there, but we can't move that guardrail because it's set for federal highway standards. So I did address that. Like I said, if it was something that we'd be looking at doing on our own, that'd be a different project to this. So I wanted to point that out because I know I've gotten a few calls on it, and I know I've heard mention from you commissioners as far as that goes too. But with the crash rating of that guardrail and being at a 90-degree to that intersection, we don't want to mess with that in case there was an accident.
I guess my thought is we should maybe take a look at it. I would hate to have somebody hit that guardrail on a turn or somebody like that, you know, or cut it too close and
Right.
fall into the ditch or the corner or something. So, what are your thoughts? What would you do? Would you just
Well, and that was talked about too, you know, we'd have to be looking at probably adding on dang near another turn or a lane,
Oh.
you know, to make it so the cars that would be turning to the right, you know, and then obviously you'd have the truck still swinging, and that guardrail's a hard point. We can't move that, so
Right.
it'd be, you know, moving a lane to the south, or even adding an additional shoulder. And then it was discussed, if we add an additional shoulder, they're just gonna cut that much farther into the south also. So I can look into it. It's probably something that is more feasible than, you know, our guardrail there is a hard point. And I understand the concern there, but it's something I can look into. And 421 held a public meeting for the pavement and rehabilitation project over in Aurora, and they're cooking along pretty good. They were anticipating being done last week with the southbound lane, but with the cylinder brakes they had to let it sit over the weekend. So there was those delays over the weekend, and then now they're working on the northbound lane, and we're looking at bringing in the mill next week. So we're moving right along with that, way ahead of schedule. So I anticipate it staying that way. The only work that would be you know, temperature constraints is going to be the joint sealing. But if we can get some warmer weather here, they'll be done with that project here before we know it. Got an update finally on the Sinai Bridge. I received some correspondence last week, and now we have a hard set date for bid letting on that project, and that's going to be let by the state, but that is going to be 6/16. So June 16th, there'll be a bid letting for the Sinai Bridge. So we're hoping that we can get a contractor that wants to work through the winter like we have now. And there was a lot of discussion determining whether or not to let that project at that time of year, because all the contractors are busy. But I think we're going to get some contractors looking for winter work again. So I would anticipate that being, you know, commenced this fall, is my hope. And let's see, we've been the crew's been working on gravel in Brookings County 16, just south of town, in preparation for that project. We know that road's probably going to get used pretty heavily when that project on 12 gets taken underway, and we want to make sure that road can handle it through the winter. Bruce Bridge was out there and visited with the contractor on the 27th, and they have a set date currently right now for the deck pour of the 25th of May. So we're looking at 5 to 6 weeks after that for final completion. And I did attach a current expenditure report on that bridge. I don't know if Stacy, you can pull that up. But we are,
Down there.
you know, we are paying for 100% of those funds, and then we need to request to get reimbursed by the state. It's on the bridge expenditure report, Bruce. Yeah, there you go. 053. So I just wanted to point out to you that we are paying for 100% of those, and we do get reimbursed by the state. So currently, right now, we've, you know, spent roughly about 400,000, and more will be coming. So they're cooking along pretty good. I did attach expenditure reports also for those bridges south of town, and I'll update those and make sure that we have all the final bills so we don't get no surprises. So I just wanted to make sure you guys had that information. And another thing that came on my radar last week, and we'll be looking at getting Brookings Municipal Utilities in here. I met with them on 4/28. They're talking about expanding their water, or their sewer interceptor lines, and they're talking about going down some of our major corridors such as 77 and 12. Currently, right now, on 12, the existing line sits right on the shoulder of our road. So if they would have to do any maintenance to that, our road integrity is going to get tore up anyways. They're looking at adding onto it as far as size, and I'm going to let Eric bring it to make sure that you guys are aware of it, but this would be a project that would be happening down the road. I mean, we're talking probably no sooner than 2022, 2023. But did meet with them on that, and that would be a fairly major undertaking because those two roads are awfully busy down to the, yep.
I just have a question. 44th Street South, that's the Sinai Road, right?
Yes.
So if we're talking about 22 and we're talking about the Sinai Bridge, and then if we're talking about that stretch there between Main and Western being torn up, how will we make all of that work for travel?
I'm going to make sure that he brings, you know, he's kind of prepared because they're going to have to phase that one out because there's a lot of residents down there, and that's going to have to be a fairly planned out and phased out project. I would anticipate that our bridge should be done before this construction would happen.
Before it starts?
Yeah. But I know I have the same concern because even along 77, the stretch they're talking about going there, there's really not any other way for some of them residents to get in and out other than our road. But it's something that you guys will have to take into consideration and looking at approving or disapproving. I handed you guys all a sheet. I don't know if we can focus down in on my sheet, but I have some anticipated dates here that our crews will be looking at performing. And one of the things, I know that we put it out on the Facebook page, but we're going to be looking at doing a 2 to 4 day closure on 32nd Street South, and that's to do some culvert work. Right now, that area is pretty saturated. I wanted to make sure that we gave ourselves ample time, but I would anticipate if we can keep our dry weather that we're holding, that we can hold to a schedule probably 2 days. But I wanted to make sure we gave ourselves some extra time. But we did advertise that, and that's going to be the first closure we're going to be looking at, and then thereafter we're going to be addressing some of the shoulder along the roadway there. These past couple of years, the water's been right up next to the road, and we need to look at addressing some of that shoulder, and we're gonna be doing some ditch clean out, but that's gonna be temporary lane closures, so. But during those times of full closure, we're gonna make sure the residents have access in and out of their homes. It's gonna be from Western Avenue to 77 or Main on that stretch of 32nd Street South, but we aren't gonna close that whole stretch, but, you know, just south of the BCOAC there and that, that'll be open, but it's in between that Western and Main where it'll be full closed
How many culverts are you installing?
too. So then, as you can see down here, I don't have any anticipated start dates for our from our contractors yet, but we want to get that work done. So when the contractor's ready to come in to pave that project, we've got our work completed. In between there, we're going to be working on addressing shoulders that we started last year on County Road 25. Another big one's going to be on June 14th. We're looking at probably a full 2-week closure south of Olga on Brookings 5. So I want to make sure we get the word out soon, because talking with, when we were meeting for Samara, I know that it was mentioned to me that they wanted some ample time, so I'm trying to get some dates out there so we can be looking at getting these projects taken care of, so. Other than that, we're kind of, at this point in time, until I can get some hard dates from some contractors, we're kind of throwing the dart at the wall and taking care of what we know needs to be taken care of, but let alone we are staying busy. Any questions? Thank you.
Bob, would you like?
Good morning.
Morning.
May 25th, we will have a joint county commission / planning commission meeting for the joint reading between First District, our state's attorney's office, my office, and Stacy's office. We've been working on a temporary zoning ordinance for medical cannabis. So they're doing the public notice now, and like I said, the first reading will be a joint meeting on May 25th, and then it looks like the second reading by this board will be on June 1st, and then they'll publish it, and it'll be in effect prior to July 1st, which is what First District's requesting or recommending that we do.
There was some talk yesterday about a special meeting on June 22nd to do a second reading. And then as we talked through the timeline and how that works exactly with First District, we don't need that June 22nd. So if you have that on your calendars, you can take that off, because we won't be needing that special meeting on June 22nd any longer.
And the points of dispensing, we had one on April 29th. We had 98 volunteers. The week prior to that, we had 51 volunteers, and that's because the number of doses, that was a first dose thing on April 22nd, and we're running out of people to give vaccines to, at least at the large scale level. This last week, the 98, I asked why did all of a sudden we jump up over 20 extra volunteers? And they said that we've been having so many pods now, a lot of people can't just take the whole day off, so the places, their employers are letting them take a half a day off, so that adds number of volunteers to our list. So, but we're still getting it done. I was gone all last week, so I don't know what the discussion is, but there very well may be an evening event come up or something like that. Everything right now is in discussion, and as soon as I hear something, I'll make sure that this board is notified. But as of now, May 13th, we've got a second pod planned, and May 20th, we've got a second pod planned. I would say if anyone's interested in getting the vaccine, keep contacting. The place to sign up is, of course, the Brookings Health System's got the online thing, and there's sign up there. And there's various places in town where you can get the vaccine, and we'll let you know if we do have another large pod coming up. In April, Richard gave an SDSU CAFO class. There's a SDSU professor over there. She likes to have Richard come in and give a presentation on what the county requires to permit a confined animal feeding operation, to give the students an idea of what they're getting into. Obviously, every county is different in South Dakota, but he does a good job. This is the second or third year they've had him do that. We've got a zoning meeting tonight. We do have one conditional use permit for a gravel permit that we had to postpone for 1 month. We had a publishing error. We thought we had notified all the adjoining landowners, and in my office, we made an error. We didn't notify all the adjoining landowners, so we had to push that one back 1 month, and we will hear that tonight. Our quarterly report has been submitted for the emergency management side of the house, and we're doing a siren test. The weather sirens, severe weather warning sirens will be tested today at 1 o'clock. I'm going on the radio here shortly for summer severe weather. We're going to discuss some tornadoes and thunderstorm watches. And other than that, that's all I have. Any questions?
Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Dustin?
Morning, everybody. The gun range, we had 77 people through, and archery range, we had 60 since April 20th. We had 2 private events in our classroom. April 22nd, we had a East Central South Dakota Realtors meeting. We put them in the archery range. They had about 40 people. The Midwest Maidens were in twice. They practiced in the archery range. April 24th, we had another RSO class. We got 3 of our newest part-timers certified, and then we got 3 new volunteers to come in and help us out, so get them in rotation. JOAD continues. We had our BCOAC Advisory Board meeting on the 26th. April 30th, we had the Prairie Striders. They used the facility for their Arbor Day run. It's always been on campus. So they came in 6 o'clock. They registered in the building, used the facility for bathrooms, and then they ran around the nature park. Worked out very well. May 1st, JOAD and the Big Sioux Bowman, they put on our archery shoot, the Open 300 and Open 360. I thought it went very well. We had about 30 people attend. We were dealing with 90-degree weather and everybody was outside, but we had a couple kids from Fargo, Huron, Menno, South Dakota, and Sioux Falls people came down. We got a vendor. JOAD did concession stand. The Big Sioux Bowman, they got some door prizes. People really enjoyed it, and they really liked the facilities. Hopefully we can do another one. They'll come back. April 28th, JOAD and some Big Sioux Bowman, they came in and helped me do some maintenance in the archery range. We fixed some buttresses. Got the place looking good before our shoot. Hopefully the targets hold up for another year, and then we'll do it again next year. May 2nd, so 4-H Shooting Sports is done. They came in and we kind of organized the storage room a little bit. Threw away some old cardboard that they shoot and can't use anymore, so got the storage room looking good. May 5th, train tomorrow is set to put the new HVAC unit on the building. So if the wind doesn't blow, the crane's going to come in and lift the new unit on. This weekend, there was a softball tournament, so I brought some pamphlets over to try to get some more business in the facility. Other than that, on May 11th, I have a session, or a study session. Would you guys like anything from me that I can research and bring? Any questions you guys had or anything? I know we're the attendance, events, that kind of thing, but I was wondering if there was anything else that I could bring.
I'm not sure that this is the right place, but I will tell you something I'd like to hear at some point. That's
Yep.
kind of more budget employee oriented on that date. But
Okay.
I'm going to talk a little bit about this when we get to the mission statement matter, but I'd like to know more about what we're looking at for additional programming
Okay, yep,
besides the shooting classes.
yep. Perfect. Any other questions for me at all?
Kind of a be it noted item, but it's interesting when you say you'll have a crane bringing in the air conditioning unit.
Yeah.
This will be the first time I think that Brookings County has had more cranes up in the air than SDSU at any
This'll
one
be a
time.
sm-
So I
yeah.
think that's an interesting note.
This will just be a 30-ton crane, so it won't be a big one like the jail, but.
The jail's got a 90-ton crane right now.
I do have another question, though.
Yep.
I happened to be driving by the BCOAC during the softball tournament and saw all the vehicles there.
Yep.
And last year, we were still doing some things on our parking lot. Is everything done? Is everything working out good on the part that we paved? How is that?
I think it is. We actually talked about it in our advisory board meeting, but now we need to maintain it, reseal it, figure out what kind of preventative maintenance we can do on that as well. But we just got it striped last year. People love it, parking on it, even softball's using it.
Saw that.
That's why the Arbor Day run came to our facilities, because we had such a big parking lot. They were going to go to the nature park, but the parking lot just wasn't big enough, so they came over and used our facility instead.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Jacob?
A real quick update for me. The 20 contract is due in Pier the third Monday of May. Actually anticipate after the meeting here this morning, finishing that up and getting that sent out today. So we're a little less than 2 weeks early on that, but numbers look good, everything balanced. So that's all I had. Any questions?
Nope.
Thank you.
Good job. Marty?
Good morning.
Morning.
Came back from the sheriff's conference. It was a good conference. I think it was one of the largest ones we had. We were with the police chiefs, and there was 198 of us. And then there was 2 days of jail class, and I think there was 40 extra that came, because some of the correctional officers in the area came to that and so forth. So it was a good conference. Just a lot of unknowns, especially with the marijuana, medical marijuana and so forth. So that's, I don't know, I can't bring back a lot because they didn't tell us a lot. It's still a lot of unknowns. So I'm going to wait for the guidance of the state's attorney's office when this gets going to help with this transition. So it's going to be interesting. So how we're going to handle that, but we're going to make it work. There's no doubt in my mind. Anyway, we talked about a lot of use of force stuff. They bring in experts on liability insurance and things like this, and trying to keep us from that being sued and that type of stuff. So it was a good conference, yeah. So I came back with a lot of stuff. Sometimes I come back and I get a little dangerous at work, but yeah, I see I'm going to be changing some procedures in the future, some of the suggestions that they made and stuff. So, but it's all good stuff anyway. This last weekend, we were extremely busy. We had 7 fires since Thursday. I'll work with Bob and that. No one's come to me yet for a fire ban of any site yet, but it is dry out there. So I am concerned about that. So we'll keep you guys informed about that. Planning for a big weekend with football and graduation. So we'll be gearing up, try to handle anything that arises from that. I have deputies have been working the football games. They don't need as many as previous because they didn't have the tailgating and so forth. So they just went 2 or 3. So it's working out good for that. Also, we started in the jail now with a virtual visit on our laptop provided by Avera. So our nurses are able to dial into the clinic during business hours, for minor stuff, like sore throats, rashes, things like that, that we don't have to take them out of the facility and take them to the clinic, So that's kind of a plus for us right now. You know, right now we have 33 inmates. What's down is a 24/7 program is down to 67 participants right now, and I just think we're just in a low. We go in a low, and then it'll probably spike. Yeah, but that's okay because it's hectic around and trying to find a place to park and get in and get their tests. You know, I do have 44 coming during the day to PBT, and then there's still let's see, there's UAs. There's still 21 to come for UAs. I have 10 people on GPS, so it's hectic around there. They put 10 cells in yesterday. I think Mike was around. They said, "Mike, you stop." I wanted to get the drone in the sky, but it was too windy yesterday, so I didn't dare put it up. But it's pretty visible anyway.
Actually, I sent some pictures to Stacy if she wants. She could throw them on the screen for you now. Just kind of a quick update. They were moving a couple of the cells in. I was laying down apparently.
They are so conscious, so safety conscious out there. The guy that's in charge of this, my jail staff thought they better send someone out there because they thought they were fighting, but they're not doing it right. He's right on them. So man, they're sure safety conscious, which is good, and they want to make sure they're going in right, you know, and because they fasten them as they go in and
It was interesting to watch them
What's
move
that?
it in. They moved it in. You know, 2 cell stack is 27,000 pounds apiece or something.
Yeah.
4
Yeah.
little
yeah. So
cart casters, and they pull them in with 5 guys.
Yeah.
Just pull them.
yeah, it's just amazing how they do that. So we're here at 5:30 this morning, so they
We could look at them later, Stacy, if you can't find them. Lay down to see them.
How many total are we putting in again?
40.
40?
40, yep. And they're pretty good about staging. They're staging their truck somewhere. I don't know. Haven't got any complaints, but so far it's been going smooth. But when you guys went with Henry Carlson and that, you guys picked out a good one there because they're extremely a good company to work with. So, and we haven't had any neighbor complaints. The church did. There was some employees parking over in their parking lot, but we got Jim, the foreman, got them moved, and so it's been good. Also, we're working on budgets, which you know, I'm going to have you guys' guidance on some of this stuff. You know, we're not really going to know what that new jail is going to cost us for a year, you know, when we get in there. So, you know, I'm trying to figure out how to estimate supplies and utilities. It's my understanding Bruce is coming Thursday. Is he coming? We got a whole list of questions, Bart and myself, with him, you know, and to try to help us, you know, how much electricity, you know, kilowatts might increase. And then utilities can kind of give me an idea. You know, I don't know how, I'm not going to be very accurate probably but it's going to be a guesstimate. So I don't know if the commission, and maybe on the 11th, that's kind of our work session, so maybe we'll have, you guys give me a little more guidance on what you know, well, I'll have the budget ready, hopefully, but I don't know if there's going to be, like, at the end of the year of 2022, a contingency, because, you know, I'm probably not going to have enough money in the budget, especially, you know, but I don't know if you guys have any ideas or any suggestions right now, but trying to get as accurate, you know, some of the unknowns is, you know, what do I, you know, for food service, you know, what do I bid for food service right now? I mean, are we going to start, you know, January 1st? And a lot of it's going to be, you know, who's going to bid the food service? I'm not sure if the architects will have that bidded, but those are some of the questions we're asking Bruce. So I'm hoping I'll have more information on Thursday. That makes, anyway, so there's a lot of kind of unknowns there. I guess that's it, unless you guys have any questions. And again, it's just been a busy couple of weeks. When the weather gets nice, that's when our calls go up. And we've got some storage unit break-ins at Volga, but we have a suspect already. So,
At your conference, did you talk to any other surrounding counties about potentially, when we're finished up, having some sales available to take other prisoners from other
Yes.
counties? Are they,
they're all itching.
okay,
But I know that Leon wants us to wait till we're probably fully functional.
Yeah.
You know, but yes, Actually, even the tribe in Flandreau wants to contract too. You know, and that's something we need to discuss too, you know, on how we're going to write those contracts. You know, I want to make sure we have income coming in to help pay for extra employees and things like that, because, you know, if I reserve beds, I kind of want to front that we have the money for those beds from these counties, you know, it's just that, so but yeah, they're, all around me want to come.
Well, I just think that's probably we need to start having those conversations about how that works, whether it's somebody can come and bring somebody right away and we have it open and what that cost is, or if a county says, we want 10 beds and we'll pay you for 12 months for 10 beds and those are ours and we're going to use them and stuff like that. And I don't know how that works. I guess I would, you know, defer to what you've seen in that line, but I think having those conversations even now as we get going, and I know the costs will be different, but you know, we need to make sure we're covering our costs when we're charging them too.
Yep.
That we're not, you know, paying them, getting paid 65 and it costs us 75 type
Right.
of thing, you know.
Absolutely.
I'd rather the cost of 75 charge them 85, but you know, so anyway, but I just think we need to start those conversations as much as possible. It seems like there's a need for it, and it'd be nice to have that kind of ready to go when we are ready to go.
And I think if we get into where we guarantee so many beds, I think we need money up front.
Yep.
That, you know, that, okay, if you contract for 5 beds, you pay us for 5 beds. You know, I don't want this hit and miss that I have room for, let's say we have room for 30, I can rent out 30 beds, but, you know, I'm only renting 12 because that's, you know, so, so I have to have, once we get going, I have to have, you know, more conversation with the area sheriffs, you know, and so forth, so. But the tribe would like it, you know, the tribe will be okay. They have some different rule, I have to go through a tribal magistrate judge on releases and things like that, but it's workable. One thing about the feds, they have money. So, and he struggles for jail space because they opened up all these rooms in Minnehaha and they're already full. So, and I see that Yankton County now is trying to build a $40 million facility, but I think it's, they want to do a courthouse and sheriff's office, and I don't know if the police department's with them, but there's one legislature there that doesn't, you know, want to, they want to keep of the courthouse and stuff and things like that. So 40 million, I mean, wow, that's a big bond. I think we did pretty good. So anyway, but I'm with you on this. I think we got to have, if we're going to rent space, I want guaranteed money so we know where we're at. Because if I have to add X amount of employees, you know, I want to make sure we're going to be covering our costs and our food and those types of things. So, okay.
Marty, have we started the process of working on contracts for other counties for contracted beds or any of that yet with the state's attorney's office?
No.
Okay. I feel like we should probably get started on that process sooner than later because there's probably a fair amount of revision work that we want to do with things.
We do have contracts because we've contracted many times over the years with other counties, whether we were buying beds for our female prisoners or letting beds. We've got contracts going both ways. They do need to be updated. But
Right.
Yeah,
we
they
do
need to
have
be updated,
contracts.
but we do have contracts.
Sure.
But they need to be updated because the contracts I had was hit and miss. They would call up if I had room, they would bring it. So, you know, like if Flandreau I had Kingsbury and, but it's one of those, it was hit and miss. They would call up and say, hey, do you have room? And I go, no. Then they would go to the next one. So, yeah. So they need to be updated.
Yeah, I think if we can get a handful of sample contracts that we have liked using into the hands of the state's attorney's office sooner than later so that we're not scrambling at the end, that'd be good.
Yeah, because it's detailed in there that any medical cost those goes back to that county. We pay it up front, but then I bill that county. You know, so. And that's going to be, you know, Bart's, you know, I've already discussed with Bart that he's going to have to, you know, probably rely on Dave and Cody to do a lot of the day-to-day supervising, and he do more of the administration to keep up on those types of things to make sure that we get things billed out and so forth. So, yeah.
What
and I think-
process does Fall County, do they have contracts or just what's available.
Well, they're staying full too, because Walsworth closed their jail, so I'm not sure that if I don't think he guarantees any beds.
Okay.
Yeah, I think right now he's just staying full because the lack of space, but I want to make sure that if we're going to rent out beds, first of all, we built the jail for us. We want to make sure we cover our needs, and then if our jail population stays what it is, around that 35 per year to 40, I figure I can rent 30 beds out pretty easy and still have overflow if I need it. So
I think we need to, at some point, and I haven't said this to Marty, so you're going to hear this for the first time. Since you and I talked about this maybe 2 weeks ago, I think we have to have a conversation about what inmates we want to house in the detention center, and whether or not we want to look at federal contracts or not and take people. I'm not sure I'm convinced that that's a good choice for Brookings. And I just want to be sure that we're deliberate decision on what it is. It's one thing to do our overflow, if we take Hamlin County inmates, it really is not a problem, okay? Originally in the past, what we've looked at is Lake County, Hamlin, Grant, Dual, maybe not Grant, but, our surrounding counties. I just want to be sure we have thoughtfully looked at contracting with a broader reach than that. I don't know when we have that discussion and what things we consider in making that decision, but I think rather than just saying, hey, we want all this business because it's available, let's talk about whether or not that's a good choice for Brookings.
yep, I don't have a problem with that. It's your jail. I just run it for you. Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to regular business. Item A, action to approve abatement number 21-13, an abatement application made by Verhook Investments LLC for parcel number 40180-00900-002-00 in the amount of $1,246.38. Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
A motion, a second. Comments, Jacob?
If you guys remember from the second meeting that we had for the Board of Equalization, where we had the one correction, that I mentioned that this Verhoek property was part of a bigger property. It was split into two, and the appraiser that split that into two properties put these garages on the wrong property. And it was brought to our attention 3 years after the fact. So the amount being abated here is for taxes on those garages paid in error by Verhoek Investments for 2018, pay 19, 2019, pay 20, and 2020, pay 21. And then at our equalization meeting, we made a correction to the 2021 assessment, so there will not be a bill to be abated for 22.
Okay, any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item B, action to approve agreement number 21-65, an amendment to agreement number 18-61, an agreement between Pictometry International Corporation and Brookings County, South Dakota. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
A motion, a second. Any comments?
If you recall, at one of the last meetings, Sean was here to discuss this updated contract, and we'd kind of put his report in from that time, and what it's showing is the enhanced imagery that we're going to get with this. The cost is really quite minimal with this enhancement, and then it also extends that contract out for another flyover in 3 years.
Okay, any questions?
Do we need the other entities, or this is our,
This is ours. We pave that. We would reach out to them and get that back if they choose to sign on again with us. So we may get some of that cost reimbursed back with our participating entities if they still choose to participate with us.
Okay, we call the roll, please.
Krogman?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item C, action to approve agreement number 21-66, an agreement between Brookings County and the state of South Dakota for project number PP 6539, parentheses 02, PCN number 087R at Cornell Avenue, Elkton, South Dakota. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Comments?
If you guys remember, but September 22nd of 2020, we had agreed at that time to move forward with 10% of our costs of $250,000 to $260,000. And if you look at this agreement, I can't quite see it, but it's a little bit more than that. Stacy, do you recall the amount? Of $312,000, so we'd be responsible for roughly about $31,250.26 from the original agreed amount of $250,000 to $260,000, which was acted on or consented on September 22nd of 2020.
Okay. Any questions, Brian? This is a railroad crossing in Elkton.
Correct.
Call the roll, please.
Boersma?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item D, action approve agreement number 21-67, a native unprocessed material agreement between Brookings County and Jimmy Jensen III, owner of Jensen Pit South. I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
So we bid on our gravel this year, and this would be paid to Jimmy, and at $1.25 per ton royalty, and that will be measured off the belt scale, which we already have an agreement with Sturzinger Crushing to crush in that pit.
Okay. Any questions? Hearing none, call roll, please.
Pierce?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item E, action to approve agreement number 21-68, an agreement to provide for the striping and continued maintenance of county roads within Brookings County. I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
I know last year I brought up to you guys some issues that we had on our roads with our stripes being unacceptable in my eyes, and essentially we're participating in this as a restripe any of our new projects. I've elected just to hire a contractor as part of those projects, so we'll have control over at least making the initial striping straight. So this just encompasses our retracing of our old routes that are currently striped already.
Any questions, Brian?
And I'm sorry, can you scoot that up on there, Stacy? I don't remember seeing something in this agreement that says what we're doing if we have a disagreement on the quality of the work. Is that in there?
I've tried to address that with the state, and their comment is that we should have done more, but that's why I eliminated our roads that we are doing maintenance on. This is their agreement that is a cookie cutter that they send out to every county.
And they refuse to negotiate the terms on that agreement? But the agreement's not really with the state so much, is it?
It is because they administer the project.
They
What
administer-
happens if we choose
ahead.
not to do our striping through the state then?
Then we would be responsible for 100%. I feel better about not having them do our new projects, our overlays and our chip seals. I like that we can refresh the stripes on our current roads, because we try to do those every 4 to 5 years, depending on the winter.
So these guys are doing the refresh, and so we split with them 60/40 or?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, so the new ones, would we normally get 60/40 on that also?
We would if we elected to go with them, but
We're not going
as
to.
it showed in our previous, that, year, and even the years prior to that, getting them to put the stripes on the road initially, I think, is the most important, whereas if we put it part of the project, like I've done with our asphalt, and the issue too is if we say if we would go with this project on those new roads, then you're looking at possibly waiting, 2 to 3 months, depending on what time of year we get our asphalt done. They don't typically come out until the fall, when everybody is, all the counties are done with their projects and they want to just kind of swing through and make one pass. Whereas if we put it project specific, like our asphalt projects and our chip seal projects, we sit less time with roads with no stripes.
Brian, do you have an estimate of roughly how much dollar impact this makes on the county?
I do, but a lot of it depends on what we're paying for mobilization. I've got a per gallon estimate from them, and I believe it's like $17 a gallon. So I mean, we'd be looking at paying for that full price. But if you scroll down, Stacy, to the bottom of that agreement, I believe it says a number in there at some point in time, or somewhere, doesn't it? So our estimated totals are that. Anything over, a county amount over limit, so we'd be looking at $60,000 extra if we were to pay for it 100%. We're still looking at $70,000 to do 60 miles of pavement retrace. And I looked back at our previous 5 to 6 years, and we're right in that average of that every year for our retrace.
And so the state's comment was that we should have had more supervision on the project?
They said that we should have had the center line marked more clearly, and my previous experience in Yankton County and talking with many superintendents throughout the state, they didn't have any sort of markings other than where the no passing zones start and stop. And I couldn't, other than the portions that I was unsatisfied with last year, which we didn't pay for, I was still a little disappointed on even some of the retrace routes. They couldn't follow the lines.
How many miles will we'll have contractor do then this year?
Well, it's part of the project on the asphalt project. It's part of the project on the micro surfacing project. So we're only going to have about 16, 17 miles that we're paying for 100% on our own.
How about seal coat?
That's part of that, because we're going to be, in total, we're seal coating 23 miles, but 5 of them are through Aurora, and we're just doing the shoulders there, and that concrete won't be covered, so we won't need to restripe that.
So I have a problem that I don't think we have a fix for today, and that I think the state overreaches when it says it won't negotiate, and we have to do this boilerplate form. And I don't know, I don't want to put Ben on the spot, whether the state's attorney's office had a chance to review the contract or not. But, and maybe there's nothing because of timing that we can do this year, but Brian, are you still head of the state highway group?
And I've voiced my opinion and concern. I let it very well known that we were not I wasn't happy, and several of the other counties were not happy with their product either. Minnehaha County doesn't even participate in this program because the dissatisfaction. And I would like to see something changed, and it's something that we addressed at our highway superintendent's meeting is it seems like we're getting railroaded here.
Exactly. And if your group as a whole came back to their commissions and said, we aren't going to do this unless the state does some negotiating and gets some of these problems fixed, I think we'd see some headway. But just us saying, we need to have a provision in here that says how we remedy problems.
And
they
it's
say
supposed
no.
to reflect back onto the state spec manual. And I referred back to that, and the deviation that is spec'd out is no differentiation 2 inches within 200 feet. We had areas that were deviating 3 feet and 50 feet. And that was my argument with them, and then their argument, their counter argument is that the stripes are down, how do you get rid of them?
Yeah.
Well, in a cost-effective manner. Well, I guess that's not my problem when I wasn't the one that put the stripes down, but we got blamed because we didn't mark the center line. But if you drive some of those roads, the stripes out in the grass.
At one time, when this program was going, the county was responsible for actually sampling the product and also providing a person to be with the paint crew to watch for, you were measuring the stripes, you were making sure that they were doing their job.
I had met with the contractor. They informed me that they were going to be showing up on a Friday, and they showed up Thursday night. So I had met with them on that Friday, but they had showed up Thursday night and started the work. So I reached out to them because I requested that we got informed when they were going to be here so I could make sure they got the right maps. And then they went ahead and started the day before. And that's where I got blindsided, and I mentioned that with the state, and still I couldn't get any grip to get anything done about it, because that's the majority of the damage was already done when I was anticipating meeting them on a Friday, and they started on a Thursday night at 7 o'clock at night. And we don't have to get those samples anymore. The contractor's supposed to be providing them directly to the DOT, which was the Watertown office. And I had met with Matt Bray and the project manager and voiced my concerns too, and it just seemed like it fell on deaf ears. And I did charge up the ladder to the Aberdeen area engineer, and it's still, I couldn't get any traction. Because we have roads out there that I don't know if Marty would even dare pull somebody over on there, because our stripes are so crazy, people would be able to say, well, we're just following the stripes. So I felt like I did my due diligence, but when the contractor comes in and starts unbeknownst to me, and then I get a call the next day saying, what the heck is wrong with our roads? You know, we put a lot of money into that, and I voiced the concerns to the local government assistance office, and I'm not the only one. It just seems like they want to come in here and quick bang boom get done and leave us with the product they left. I thought was very, very unsatisfactory. The issue that I did find out is there is a prime contractor, and they subcontract out from that, and that was what I'm trying to not get them to do. I feel that if the subcontractor does the work, they're responsible for the prime. Well, the prime is a paint supplier. They're not the applicator. So I agree with Leanne. There's probably not much as far as what we can do right now, but in the future, I'm doing what I can just to protect us from that, having that happen again. Because I'm sure many of you have drove those roads and seen it.
It's just nice if we could take, if it worked, we could pay 40% instead of the 60%, the 100%. But
Well, I
I know
agree.
there's quality too, so.
I feel that initial investment, on an asphalt project, you're looking at 2 to 3 years after you do the initial paving before you're going to do chip sealing. And like I mentioned, we look at every 3 to 4 years on our retracing. So at that point in time, we're looking at doing a chip seal, and they're going to have to restripe it anyways. But initially, just to get that road alignment to match up to the crown is my biggest concern, because when you have stripes that are going in and out, I just worry about the integrity of the shoulders.
Yeah.
I'd like to try to keep the traffic off those shoulders, and if we have pavement failures, that's where we really pay for it with the striping.
Well, I just think it's probably, I don't have a problem trying it this year. I think we should probably revisit this next year again and see how it goes,
I agree.
you know.
And another dissatisfaction too, I mentioned to the state, we get this, and then we have to come to an agreement on it right away. We need more time.
Yeah. But before they start, don't you have a regional meeting with
Yep.
with the contractor?
Yep.
At that time, you can add miles if,
Add or subtract, depending on the conditions of the striping, because they asked us to give them our plan last fall, and then we didn't get this agreement until here late.
there might be a chance that you could add the others
Yep.
if at the pre-construction meeting that you feel that,
Right.
so.
It depends on the contractor. Speaking with, other counties, that they had different contractors. Some of them did better than others.
Mhm. Okay, any other comments? Call the roll, please.
Bartley?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item F, action to approve agreement number 21-69, an application for occupancy of the right-of-way of county highway made by Sioux Valley Energy in Trenton Township. Do I have a motion to approve?
So
Move
moved.
approval. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments?
These next few right-of-way agreements here are just splicing onto existing lines that are already out there, and/or burying overhead or switching from overhead into underground.
Okay. No other comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carried. Item G, action approve agreement number 21-70, an application for occupancy of the right-of-way of county highway made by Sioux Valley Energy in Trenton Township. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any no comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item H, action approve agreement number 21-71, an application for occupancy of the right-of-way county highway made by Sioux Valley Energy in Madera Township. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. No other comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item I, action approve agreement number 21-72, an application for occupancy of the right-of-way county highway made by Sioux Valley Energy in Madera Township. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. No comments. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item J, action approve agreement number 21-73, an application for occupancy of the right-of-way of county highway made by Sioux Valley Energy in Sterling Township. Have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. No comments. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carried. Item K, action to approve agreement number 21-74, an application for occupancy of county highway made by Sioux Valley Energy in Aurora Township. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. No comments. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carried.
Mr. Chair, before we move on, can I make a comment? On all of these occupancy things, I mentioned this one other time, I want to throw it out again. I really think we should be starting a database of some kind where we're keeping track of what we've got in our right-of-ways. And just to be thinking about that in the long run, having gone through that whole process with drainage where we didn't know anything about culverts and where we had culverts in the county, it wouldn't be too soon for us to start tracking this. All right.
Thank you. Item L, action to approve change order number 1 for the 2021 Brookings County Concrete Pavement Rehab Project in the amount of $20,962.38. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Brian, background.
This was brought up at the public meeting on the 21st. Banner and Associates is performing some work for the city of Aurora. And we were informed at that point in time that they were not going to be addressing outside of the diamonds for the manholes in their project. They're going to completely, encompassing in their project, they're going to replace the diamonds and reset the manholes, but nothing outside of that was going to be taken care of. At that point in time, we determined that we would like those areas as addressed because there was some spalling and there was one full depth that needed to be taken care of, and that's what this change order is for. We're going to be seeing another change order coming back our way. There was less full depth repair than was originally anticipated on the project, and more partial depth repairs that were going to be taken care of, which is going to result in a change order coming back our way. But this encompasses just those manholes through the city of Aurora.
Okay. Any questions? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Krogman?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item M, action approved change order number 004 for the Brookings County Detention Center expansion and remodel project in an amount of $24,658. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move approval?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Comments?
I kind of spelled out all of the changes. They're on this next page here if you want to go through them, but there's some detention, doors, glass, hardware. That was an increase of about 44. Some concrete was actually a reduction in cost to the contractors to contingency of about 4,300. The detention pass-throughs, these are on the doors, for the pass-through trays was actually a credit of just over 6,000. Carpentry install and wall protection, again, a credit of about 8,400. We had detention windows and electrical to a window that was unanticipated. That was an increase of about 22,700. And then this does include the repairs to the east steps of the courthouse between the sheriff's office and the courthouse, going into the courthouse at just over 12,000. So that's the total of the 24,658.
Any other questions? Hearing none, call the roll.
Boersma?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item N, action approved change orders to the bylaws for the Brookings County Outdoor Adventure Center Advisory Board. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Dustin, you have some comments?
So this, we changed the mission statement, shortened it up a little bit. I think it's very good, what we're trying to go after. And then we also changed the appointments to the, a 2-year term. And then we also staggered them so we don't we wouldn't lose everybody at once if they didn't rejoin. We also have 2 members of the commission, 1 law enforcement, and then 1 GF&P. So there's 5 people that have to apply, and then if we could just appoint the 2 commission, 1 law enforcement, and then 1 GF&P, if that works for everybody.
Okay.
We haven't been making Sheriff Stanwyck apply for his position on that board. So kind of to reflect that that is indeed what we're doing, that was that change. And then GF&P, I think we've just kind of allowed them to appoint who they felt they wanted on that board. It's currently Rocco Morano. His office is located there at the building, so he is able to attend those meetings, so.
I
Question,
just
Ms.
wanted
Pierce?
to comment, and if you could put back the purpose part, Stacy. The way that reads, it just talks about connecting people to the exciting world of shooting sports and other outdoor recreation through partnerships with game, fish, and parks in the city of Brookings. That looks like those are the only 2 things that we do, how that's worded. And what I don't think we're limiting our programming just to with game, fish, and parks in the city of Brookings. And that to me is how that reads. And maybe it should be something like, and I like the exciting world of shooting sports and other outdoor recreation through partnerships with South Dakota Game, Fish, and Parks, comma, the city of Brookings, comma, and other programming. Maybe would make it clear that we're doing things with, other than just with game, fish, and parks in the city of Brookings.
And other programming, you said?
And other programming. So if we wanted to do some other type of outdoor activity, class, project, program, whatever, we could do that, and it wouldn't have to be through Game, Fish, and Parks or the city of Brookings. We could do some other things, and should be doing some other things in addition to what we're doing with those 2 entities.
But I don't think this limits us at all.
How it reads right now says that we're just doing our shooting sports and other outdoor recreation through partnerships with Game, Fish, and Parks in the city.
Right, but even our previous statement, we didn't, we worked with anybody there also. I think the reason we put the Game, Fish, and Parks is, one, because they're offering us, we offer rent space to them, but they also offer us grant funds and different things like that for there. And then also with the city of Brookings being backed up to the park, working with a combination, we worked a joint intern with them. And so we kind of identified them as ones that we want to continue to work with, but I don't feel that we can't work with anybody else. Similar to the previous one, we didn't say we had to work with anybody. We identified 4-H, but we didn't want to say we also have agreements with South Dakota Game, Fish, and Parks and the city of Brookings.
Right, and I'm not suggesting we take those out because those are important relationships for us. I just think we have to be a little more inclusive and just say, and other programming. I don't think we take those out, but we make it clear that we're doing programming besides with those 2 entities. Because those partnerships are very important to the success of our operation. I don't disagree with that.
Would you guys like me to change it and bring it back?
How about if you just said recreation through participation with South Dakota Game, Fish, and Parks in the city of Brookings instead of partnerships?
I don't think that changes the issue. We should be doing things besides with Game, Fish, and Parks and the city of Brookings. We want it to be more inclusive so we could, what if we want to do something with SDSU? Or what if we want to do something with the Brookings School District? Or what if we, all of those kinds of things aren't included in what the mission statement is.
Well, and I think we wanted to try to keep this kind of short, and we didn't really want to name anybody possibly who we could have a partnership with.
I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying add 3 words, and other programming.
Because we do with other schools, you got some schools, other
There's
schools coming
2 or
in
3
and-
schools coming over to do some archery tag and play archery as well. And we have Joe Ad, Midwest Maidens, Southpaw Defense. He brings in business. We had Watertown Police Department come down. ATF was in. We've had other organizations.
And none of that's included in our mission statement, the way it's written.
We have other outdoor recreation.
I think the challenge is that you're talking programming, and that sentence is talking partnerships. And those are two different things in my mind. Right. We do programming with all kinds of people, as evidenced by who our users are.
Yeah.
But there are specific partnerships that exist with those organizations. Others, like, is so vague as to not be helpful, in my opinion. If we want to talk about other programming, it needs to go in the programming section of it, not in the partnership section of it, because we don't actually have other partners right now. We have user groups.
These are the two partners that we have that we collaborate with for funds, for use of the space. Like I said, I think Angie's got a good point. The other people are users, and
Important ones.
yeah, very much so. But I don't know if we want to have. I don't know if they mix. I think that was what we were trying to get at by having these two here. Was these two partnerships rise to a different level than just programming, and we want to do programming. We want to have users. We won't turn anybody around, and we can work some collaborations with them. But most of them are users, and like SDSU has a class or something. But you know, if SDSU turns around and comes back and says we've got a grant that we can use, but it's available to us, and we'd like you to partnership with us on providing that type of thing, and we'll provide this grant to BCOAC for the use of it. I can see that rising up to a partnership rather than just a user programming. And so, again, she brings up a good point.
Of course, to do that then, to have that included in our mission statement, which should be a bigger umbrella. If we did a partnership with somebody else, our mission statement doesn't permit that. I understand we're just going to go ahead and do it anyway, but why not make our mission statement broad enough to include those kinds of things? But I guess I've said what my thoughts are. So
I think in order for it to be paralleled, it would need to be through partnerships with South Dakota Game Fish and Parks, the city of Brookings, and other partners, not other programming, because programming and partners are different.
I'm okay with and other partners. I just want it to be broader than Game Fish and Parks and the city of Brookings, but I'm not sensing any support for that. But I'd be fine with what Commissioner Boersma said.
Would you like to make a motion? Amendment?
Well, if we make that change, do we feel we have to bring it back?
Yes.
To our advisory board?
Yeah. Because ultimately, it's the advisory board's recommendation. If our recommendation is to add a couple words to modify that, I think it bears conversation with the advisory board.
So where would you like to add the words?
I'm not on the advisory board, so at a certain point,
You've had 2 suggestions, take them both.
at a certain point, I would like to hear from our commission liaisons to that advisory board, because we didn't capture the entirety of the conversation. You all did.
And I guess that was my point from the beginning. That was the conversation we had, was that these two are partnerships, and we didn't feel that it limits any type of other partnerships or limits types any other programming. This was calling these two entities out for their partnerships in the facility, and I guess we didn't feel like we were missing anything from that. If we want to add another partnerships, I don't know, it's a mission statement. I'm not sure it doesn't allow us to have other partnerships. It doesn't allow us to have other programming. So I'm not sure the change is gonna do very much, I guess. But if the commission wants to go with it, that's fine. We can put a comma after Game Fish and Parks, comma, City of Brookings, and other partnerships. That's fine, we'll bring it back.
I personally don't have a problem with the way it's written. I think mission statements are important to have. I just don't know how many people will actually read them and decide whether they can have programming out there because they're not included in this mission statement. So, and obviously, we're going to have programming with an awful lot of other partners that aren't going to be listed. We may even have some partnerships we develop in the near future that wouldn't be necessary as formal written agreements like we have with South Cook Game Fish and Parks. I don't know if we even have formal agreements with the JOAD people that are written, or any of the other partners that use the facility. We don't have written agreements with any of them that I'm aware of, and I'm not on the board, so.
I started a little paper trail, like, hey, you
Yeah,
guys are
paper
using
trail.
this facility, this is what you're paying, that kind of thing, but
Right.
Not
But
like
those
we
are,
do with
those
game.
are outdoor recreation partnerships.
yeah.
So, I mean, we're getting down into the weeds if we start listing all these particular partners that we might have. So I'm not unhappy with this one. No, fishing parks, game fishing parks runs the facility and is there full time. I'm not exactly sure what the city of Brookings has with a partnership other than the parking lot.
They actually helped out with Arbor Day Run, and they kind of pushed it over to our facility. They handed out beverages and trees out front in the parking lot. So they,
But there wasn't any financial thing back and forth, no agreement. That's just programming.
Previously, we had an intern that was split costs between the city and us.
Okay.
For an intern, for
That was
them
a
to-
partnership then.
Partnership.
And I,
Yeah.
that's fine. The parking lot was the
Plus,
only thing that
Park
came to
and
my
Rec,
mind.
we're gonna do programming with the Outdoor Adventure Center and the Game
There
Fishing Parks.
was talk of having that agreement with their nature park, I guess I want to
I
call
mean,
it. So,
there was input from our whole advisory board, the 4-H supervisor, the GF&P representative, and Dustin worked exclusively on this. So
do we have a City of Brookings member of the advisory board?
we have an at-large.
community at large.
Community at large, then.
not
Okay,
a
that
specific
would be
employee.
considered, City of Brookings could
Yep.
push for a membership there or whatever. the case. I just don't have any problem with the way it's written, to be honest with you. I think it's just fine. We're not going to cover every base.
I'm also fine with it.
It's your guys' building, I just run it.
And as easy as it is to make a modification to this sentence, if in the future someone does approach us for a partnership, we can always add it.
Well, and my whole point is, and that's fine if everybody agrees that it's as it's written, is that your mission statement is supposed to be a broad statement of what it is that you're doing. And all we're talking about are those three things: 4-H, Game Fish and Parks, and the City of Brookings. And I really hope, and that's why I asked about programming earlier, that we are doing other kinds of programming in our facility. We're not supposed to just be doing shooting sports. We're supposed to be looking at other things too. That was why we bought the building and made the investment, and I don't want that piece to get lost. But that's just my thoughts on it.
I don't think it is. I mean, even 4-H alone, they do, public speaking, everything, youth development, babysitting classes, all that kind of stuff. And, I'm trying to get anything and everything through the door, meetings, a birthday party, a baby shower, Wildlife Federation, they meet. I'm just trying to do anything just to get people into the building. But
Okay. We do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Pierce,
No,
Bartley,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Boersma,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
motion carries.
Item number 9, Commission Department Directors Report.
Commissioner Pearson and I, after the last meeting, met with Matt Lift in his capacity with Level Lift to review some of the heaving issues that we have over at the courthouse grounds with our sidewalks. And so he is working on getting a quote on leveling off some of those sidewalks using their system instead of the full tear out the concrete, replace the concrete. So I will be bringing that back to you. Kristen Witchy and I, our HR specialist, and I met with some city representatives. We're starting work now on the annual safety week. That's going to be in July. Looking to get a consensus from you folks to spend about $100 on a door prize. We did that last year. It would come out of the public relations line in the commission. We had both the city, for the city employees, and the county, for the county employees, did a similar door prize with a cooler and chair, and he said you had to attend the picnic and be there to sign up, and it went over really, really well, and people really appreciated that. So just looking for if you are okay with me doing that again this year. I have shaking heads. Okay. The April E911 meeting was canceled due to lack of agenda. As of right now, the May meeting, I believe we did get the go-ahead for May 25th at 10 a.m. And I guess that's for Larry and for Angie to attend. That's when the budget will be discussed.
At 10 o'clock?
10 o'clock, yes. I don't have a location yet. I'm assuming that, I think we're going to meet in person, maybe try the community room, but I'll let you know as we get that set. To give an update on Communities of Excellence, I've been attending those meetings since January of last year, and then COVID hit and we kind of quit for a little bit, but then we started doing Zoom meetings every week. Things have progressed. Now we're working with Dakota Resources and working towards conducting some listening sessions for the community, trying to engage a very broad swath of the community, and actually really the entire Brookings County area, to see what issues and opportunities citizens are saying that there are out there, not just those of us that are sitting around the table, but trying to get a more broad concept of what others see as issues and opportunities. We're working on that. Those listening sessions, we're hoping to have them start coming up here this summer. So I'll kind of keep you posted on that. Sean and I have been meeting with the city folks as well. A couple different times we've met to discuss the fiscal year 22 budget for this building. That will be reviewed at Joint Powers Board on May 13th when we meet next week. We have that done. And this morning I did hand out the executive summary from our jail project manager, Chad Nelson, that he provides every month. And we've already discussed that the cells are going in, and they will be going in kind of all week. So if you want to zip over there and take a look at what that process looks like. Otherwise, just some upcoming dates. Remember, next Tuesday, we do have our full day work session scheduled here in the community room. I have it going until 5. There is something coming into the community room, I believe, at 4 o'clock. So if we feel we're not done, I think we can move. We'll have to maybe pack up and move somewhere else. But I do have that room reserved until at least 4 o'clock. Next Wednesday is the Sioux Valley Commissioners, or that 10-county meeting in Cottington County at their extension building on the west side of town. Memorial Day is coming up, May 31st, and will be closed. And then just to make sure you have that on your calendar, June 24th, budget hearings all day, and we will be starting here in the community room next door. That's all I have, unless you have some questions for me.
Just a quick question on the Communities of Excellence and go out and interview members of the community. Has that group at all looked back at the charrettes we had before with BEDC to see if they've tracked any of the suggestions that came out of those meetings a few years back and their fruition or
Yes.
not acceptance of those?
Yes, I mean, we have looked at some of that information. This is kind of a different way of doing things. These listening sessions are going to be a little bit different than the charrettes.
Okay.
And getting just wanting to get some updated information. But yes, we have looked at those. And
Somewhat of
are
a
aware.
continuation, but in a different approach.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? State's Attorney's Office report.
Stacy mentioned, assuming all the first and second readings fall in line, we should have something in place before July 1st. And really, the essence of that is, as I previously told the commissioners, is that it's going to require a state license before someone can make an application to the county for both the dispensary as well as the medical. So, and this is in compliance with IM 26. There were several attorneys with the Assurance Alliance that had worked with the First District in assembling this ordinance. So I'm content with how the ordinance reads and to make sure that we're in compliance with IM 26. So we should be in good shape headed into July 1st. And then the rumor is that the state is going to work sometime between now and October to develop their license framework. So if someone is wanting to have a dispensary here in Brookings County, to apply first to obtain the state license before they make an application to the county, and we should have more guidance on the state framework here in the coming months. So,
Thank you.
Out of curiosity, is anyone aware whether or not the information from first passed through to cities and municipalities within the county as well?
I've had direct contact with Bursino and Brightsman as well as Jake, and I've forwarded our proposed ordinances to the three of them. And so hopefully, I'm not sure. The municipalities have been working closely, the municipal league, with the First District in terms of making sure that the two ordinances aren't too out of whack with one another. So hopefully there's some continuity there.
I did have a conversation with Todd Kays yesterday as well and asked that question about our small towns, and he did say those with the zoning they have reached out to, and even those that don't have, they are doing something. I know they are doing a Zoom meeting with all of these different entities to discuss kind of what that looks like here this week or next week. I think I can't remember offhand right now what the date is on that, but yes, they have been working with all of the different governmental entities to make sure people have what they need in place.
Sounds good. Thank you.
So Dan, is it your thoughts then that if we have a municipality within the county that doesn't adopt a similar type resolution requiring the license, then in those towns starting July 1st, that there can be a dispensary?
Are you talking like an Elkton or a White or a Bruce? If they don't have a ordinance in place, can they have their own dispensary? I would say no, because they're not going to have a state license. So once the state obtains their framework, then we'll know if a municipality like Elkton or White, so they wouldn't necessarily be covered by the county because they're not rural, but we know for a fact that they're not going to have a license because the state doesn't have one yet. So that'll kind of be the tipping point, is when the state says, okay, we're ready, you can apply. Then we'll have to watch to make sure that our local municipalities, the smaller towns, actually have things in place. But as far as we're concerned, we're going to have something on the books by July 1st, which I think, covers our bases. So,
Dan, we're covering our bases, excuse me, dispensaries are concerned, but where do we look down the road to manufacturing facilities for the product for these dispensaries? Are we going to become involved? Is there a state license in that? Is it just county zoning on an ag basis, conditional use? Where do you think that's going to go as far as manufacturing? Because
Yeah, it's all gonna
I've
be
heard more comments about,
Right.
we're not worried about the dispensary, where can we grow this stuff?
Yeah, that's going to be state too. I mean, that's going to be the Department of Ag, Department of Health that are going to have a say in that. And it's going to follow that same process. So in order to grow at the county level, you're first going to have to obtain a state license, as well as dispensaries, as well as even the prescriptions. The issue we're going to have, and I was talking with Marty about this, is if someone comes in with a, like a medical prescription from Iowa or Minnesota or some of these other states that have a medical prescription, and they come into Brookings County with marijuana, right? The state, up till July 1st, didn't recognize that prescription. It's still illegal to possess it. So, those individuals we might see more of that, where those people now come into South Dakota with marijuana because they have a medical prescription in another state. And then, of course, we would recognize that prescription, even though it wasn't issued in South Dakota. So, some of those things, I think we'll probably see more of. But to your point, the growing is going to have to be state licensed too before they obtain a local one.
Do we want to start on those types of regulations? Talking with Todd at First District, his first initial thought was it would follow an ag rule growing deal, except for the fact that it requires a lot of electricity, requires water, requires other things, so it's limited where it could actually end up in some respects. Are we going to look at it now, just sort of wait? I mean, the medical dispensary first, they can buy their product from somewhere else and sell it here, and then we walk into the growing area. It's going to be an awful lot of interest, I think, in the actual manufacture of the medicinal products. Dispensaries, one or two are going to handle a heck of a lot of it, but there'd be a lot of dispensary activity, I think, or growing activities. When do we start that process, do you think?
Well, yeah, I think we probably started after July 1st.
Yeah.
I think there's a big education component here. I don't know how to grow marijuana, and so I don't I don't know how to draft an ordinance that covers all of that. So I think we're going to have to rely on some outside guidance for that. The other question I have is how much marijuana is transported from out of state to a dispensary here in Brookings? Is the marijuana going to be trafficked in from Colorado or somewhere else where it's grown at a more robust level? Because to be commercially viable here in South Dakota, there's a lot of initial investment to get your infrastructure up in place to be able to compete with a large grower in another state. So I don't know how much growers we're actually going to have initially. That'll probably be something that we'll see later on, but yeah, I think there's a big education curve here that we're going to have to lean into. Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner reports and discussion. Commissioner Pierce?
On April 20th, after Stacy reported, we went over and looked at sidewalks at the courthouse. And we have a meeting coming up next week again to look at courthouse issues. I did on April 30th meet over at the courthouse with a gentleman that does oak restoration to look at our courtroom, which needs some maintenance. We have quite a bit of damage to our antique oak fixtures that are in our courtroom, and some work needs to be done or we're going to lose those historic items that are in our courtroom. And he was going to make a bid, and we'll see when that comes back, whether that's something that y'all are interested in or not. On April 20th, I also attended that final equalization hearing with the rest of you. And this afternoon, I have the pleasure on a Zoom meeting of training the finance officers throughout the state. They're having their annual meeting on bankruptcy law and county liens. Yeah, that's it.
Also attended the equalization meeting with the rest of you on the, and we kind of went over some issues in the highway department as far as scheduling and getting things done, and that worked well. Then the 22nd, detention center meeting. I think we've covered that with the change orders and the things that have happened there. They're having another meeting Thursday morning. We'll see where that goes. There's a few issues that I've got with the cells right now, and we'll talk about those. The 23rd, attended the Elkton's Fireman's Feed. Good food as usual. with Commissioner Jensen. And then also attended John Pike's retirement reception for a little bit to congratulate him on his retirement. And that concludes my report.
Mr. Krogman.
See some building going. Had a BCOIC meeting on the 26th, getting ready for budget. Ready for that kind of stuff put to there, looking at the budget and how we're doing. Had Brookings Health on the 26th, and then Beta on the 28th. And still kind of standstill on their building project there, working on grants and getting ready for that. They're, still looking at funding, and they're actually in decent shape, considering other transit places in our state. They've got enough funds to keep going, and so we're still working with the DOT on that grant stuff. So that's all I have.
On the 20th, meeting with all of you, and then the 21st, kind of going through some finance stuff and future long-range planning. And then we also had a BEDC board meeting that afternoon. The 23rd, we had a BEDC retreat task force meeting, kind of planning the strategic planning retreat. And then the 27th, met with Stacy and staff about the planning for Mike Holzhauser's retirement. And so kind of better understanding that department and staff roles and things like that. So that's what I got.
Okay, on the 20th. On the 21st, public meeting with Brian on the project over there. On the 22nd, we had a jail meeting that morning. After that, we did a brief tour of the facility. It's amazing once you get inside how large it was. I'm sure it'll fill up when the cells are all installed, but it was going pretty good in there. On the 23rd, as Commissioner Bartley said, I attended the Elkton Fireman's Feed and also John Pike's retirement. It was good to see all the former deputies, all the new deputies. It was a good turnout. On the 25th, I attended the Aurora Fireman's Breakfast. And on the 26th, BCOAC board meeting, Ryan said we're working on budgets. On the 29th, I volunteered at the pod briefly in the morning, helped sign up the volunteers, and I left. It's going pretty good. Everybody knows their job, and it goes pretty smooth. And that's all I have. Item 12. We do not have item 12. I look for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Opposed, same sign. We're adjourned.